recently was brought onto a project to launch a Kickstarter campaign for one of our clients, implemented a lot of growth hacking techniques, processes, as well as traditional marketing, digital marketing tactics, and raised $120,000 in the first day and have gone on to raise $250,000, and there's still 25 days left. So I thought I might just give a super quick overview of that and how we did it and what we could all learn from that. But just to start off, I work for Josephmark. They're a digital products agency. I was a bit of a fangirl before I even started working for them. If you're not familiar with them, look them up. They create what I think are some of the best digital products in the world. The CEO is, I think, a true visionary at the ripe age of 31. But he, over the last 10 years, has used profits and revenue from the agency side of Josephmark to fund about 10 of his own companies, which all sit under the Josephmark Ventures portfolio. And I'm responsible for the growth and go-to-market strategy of a lot of the companies within that portfolio, which are all at various stages of the life cycle, and have some pretty cool partners like Pharrell and Scott Venner and Guy Ritchie and some other cool people. But before Josephmark, I was in the US for about 11 years, was working in very traditional marketing and PR at some big agencies and companies like Intel and Adobe and Palm, and then went to LA and started my own PR agency, but alongside that also kind of was just fiddling and launching a company called My Yoga Avenue, which isn't really around anymore, but I just learned a lot from doing that I would kind of apply a lot of those learnings to a lot of my clients and realised very, 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 very quickly that PR as a solo channel for launching a company was not really the best way to succeed. You know, needed a multi-channel approach and definitely a different framework and way of thinking, and it essentially became a growth agency and worked some really cool startups and some really fun people and in Silicon Beach, as they call it, and then moved here a year ago, and it's actually the most vibrant, like, startup scene and growth hacking scene, and I understand from Dan that that's because we don't have a lot of venture equity here, venture capital, as much as the States, and so people actually have to, God forbid, work out how to get their own customers. So let's get started. So Audira came to us. There are a couple of doctors, a couple of engineers. They've developed cool headphones that personalise sound for each individual person, just the way that you would get glasses tailored for your particular way of seeing. And they wanted help with branding and all aspects of a Kickstarter campaign. So we helped them with all aspects of the campaign. And we raised $100,000, $120,000 in the first day. I just thought I'd talk a little bit about how we did that. But so you can understand why they're so cool, I wish I could say it how this guy said it. But basically, the editor of Boss Hunting said they're called Audira, an Aussie startup. Their Kickstarter campaign launched yesterday, hitting a behemoth 120% of their 100K target in the first 24 hours. If sound quality was a Gen X male, Audira has effectively stripped him of everything he has, slapped him around, given him a crisp haircut, sorted his life out, then put him in a rocket and sent him past the stratosphere. What I'm saying is they've shaken things up for the better. And because I can't explain that well how cool they are, I thought I would just show you a super quick video.
The idea for the headphones came from seeing patients in the hospital. We wanted to make hearing tests quicker and more accessible for people. So we set about building a medical-grade audiogram that we could just put inside a set of headphones. To do an audiogram, you basically plug a set of headphones into a computer. So we just took the computer and put it inside the headphones. Then you can do your hearing test anywhere, anytime. But that wasn't all. We started to realise what this could mean for anyone who loves music. You see, we all hear things differently, and we all have a degree of hearing loss. I'm a drummer, and I've always been really protective of my hearing. It's not just every gig you've been to, it's every busy street you've walked down, it's every fire truck that's driven past. They've all damaged your hearing. So we wondered, what if the headphones not only test your hearing, what if they use that knowledge to tailor the sound perfectly for you? you get your favourite music the way it was intended. And you can test as many times as you like, which lets you monitor your hearing over time, and as your hearing changes, your headphones are going to change with you. But the best part is that the headphones learn exactly what they need to change to make the music perfect for you. They make it better, not louder. You're not going to use glasses that aren't adjusted to your vision. Why would you use headphones that aren't adapted to your hearing? Audira lets anyone, anywhere, hear the music exactly as it's meant to be heard. It's perfect sound, always.
All right, so I totally would have fumbled through that. So, and then just to give you a bit of an overview of how this has been seen in the market, and you can also see that this is all part of our content strategy, right? Like I was fumbling through pages of trying to describe like how amazing this was and the thinking behind it and the science and engineering, and obviously a good content strategy, 2 videos pretty much sums it up. You guys can hit play.
Hit play.
Let's have some fun.
And I'm playing.
Switch.
Holy crap.
It's good.
Clearer. No, get a lot clearer. Yeah.
Hear the guitar.
Everything's amplified.
That's awesome.
Bit more custom.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
Pretty good. It's a lot clearer.
Far out. I'm like, trying not to swear. That's so good. I don't think I've ever heard the harmonies like this before.
Right, so that's it in a nutshell. But so essentially, I'll go into the tactics and what we learnt, but our biggest lessons, which I'll recap on in the end as well, but was that I saw more of a sense of FOMO and more of a sense of urgency from people in the market to get involved and become a part of this community, and brand advocacy that was on the next level. Like I've never seen so many people recommend, refer, tag, share, want to know how to get involved in any of the brands that I've worked on in the past. And so my biggest lesson from this campaign was, how do I create a Kickstarter feeling for every brand that I'm working on? How do I create this fear of missing out? How do I create these tight deadlines where people kind of feel that they're really, really going to miss out on something if they don't jump in now? Don't have an answer to that because it's kind of, we're still in the middle of it, but it's definitely a goal of mine to kind of come up with those ideas and work out how to roll that out across several ventures. So how did we start? Oh Lord, I think, can we get oh, that's me, sorry guys. So we had no email list, no social media following, no press coverage, just friends and family and a small budget. So we created and focused on one metric that matters, my OM moment, I call it. You know, we had to kind of create a lead generation machine in 2 weeks. We didn't have much time to do this and we didn't have a lot of budget. We really, really needed the focus that like the one metric that mattered gave us, which was, you know, we chose to focus all of our efforts on emails and building a community of socials to convert into emails, to convert into pledges. And we used the ICE process, which I assume everyone's pretty familiar with, given how advanced everyone is. But if you're not, basically it stands for impact, confidence and ease. And you give each idea a score out of 10 for each letter. Yeah. So, and then we sat together as a team. We came up with about 50 ideas on how to have an impact on our one metric that matters. And wow, 50 ideas, that's pretty cool. Like, we don't have the budget, we don't really have the time. So how are we going to prioritise those? So we went through and gave each idea a score out of 10. And then we also culled a lot of them. So I think we only ended up with about 17 ideas because 33 of them actually, like, they were great ideas, but they didn't have any impact towards us collecting email addresses, which was our one metric that mattered. So we really had to have that intense focus. So once we had given each of them an I score, we ranked them the highest I score to the lowest, and we chose to execute on the ones that we thought would have the biggest impact first. Obviously, like growth hacking, growth people, I was working with a product management team and some developers, and like a lot of people don't like face-to-face time. So it's, you know, pretty important to get together with your team every single morning and review the most results, like in person, not over Slack. Challenges and obstacles to completing tests, sharing key lessons learned, identifying new tests, and reviewing your backlog of ideas. So pre-launch, obviously, we had to get a few things right first, rather than jumping into the tactics. We just wanted to make sure that we had like an amazing content strategy. It helps. Josephmark also owns Breeder, a really great motion graphics company. They did a lot of the title sequences for True Detective and some other cool shows. Incredible branding, tone to voice guide, really, really strong visual guide. Had to set off all the email systems, like do everything from scratch, just like a bit of a startup, essentially making sure your Google Analytics codes are in place, pixels, all sorts of traffic, email pop-ups, the list goes on. We also had to, there's a couple of competitors in the market, so we just had to make sure we had our positioning right. This is all pretty traditional marketing stuff, but obviously pretty essential as well. So tactics that we used, every single email pop-up under the sun you could imagine, we A/B tested and tried. Pretty specific Facebook ads, PR, giveaways, tapping into alumni networks, actually meeting people. They won an ad somehow, so we used that. And then tons and tons of influencers. Like, these guys were not shy. Like, they are so, they're hustlers. They're a delight to work with, actually, and made our job really, really easy. I'm sure are you guys all familiar with Sumo? Was Sumo me? Spent $1.5 million becoming Sumo? Yep, okay, cool. Well, just in case you're not, they offer all of the most amazing email pop-ups, super cheap, super easy to use, super easy to A/B test. Some of them are really intrusive, some of them are really polite. And I don't know if you've ever read about the science behind email pop-ups, but there's like a lot of it. And whether it's an exit pop-up or, whether you bring it in 30 seconds after your average time, the average time that someone's been on the site, I mean, it goes on and on and on, and we kind of tested all of them for this, to be honest. From your basic pop-up to your super intrusive welcome mat that we had pop up for everyone within 1 second, even if they'd been on the site, even if they'd given us their email address. It was ruthless. But to be honest, that was the one metric that mattered, and we wanted to be ruthless about it. So we didn't mind that the bounce rate went from like 20 to 80 because we got more emails. Facebook ads. So I know you all know about Facebook ads, and you've probably tried and tested everything. But one of the ways that Facebook ads really helped us was to A/B test and to work out the images that resonated and the messages that resonated, so that we could then roll that out across every single platform. As I said, we didn't have much time. So we wanted to know the one bit of punchy copy and the one image that was going to hit home in the subject line of an email, to our pitch to a reporter, and in our Facebook ads and across other platforms. So I don't know, with this one, how many people would have thought that the first one, will say that the second one would have won, got the most clicks? I thought that was really badass. Like, I thought that was kind of cool. It turns out people like, what the F would doctors know about sound? So that got 94 clicks, and the first one got 1,114. So, assumptions, like, don't make them. There you are. And then we also tested images, and the first one resonated a hell of a lot more. So cool, easy. We just rolled those, the strongest copy and the strongest imagery across multiple platforms. We then A/B tested a lot of ads to see which ones were the cheapest converting, the cheapest way to acquire an email address. So just pushing people through to landing pages on the website with a pop-up rather than the ones that Facebook create for you to fill out a form was much, much cheaper for us. So as soon as we worked that out, we put a lot more money behind those ones. PR. Worked in PR for years. It's really brutal. Like, it's really hard. It's really hard to get journalists to listen. And then after you spend a week pitching journalists, you might get 1 or 2 meetings, and you've got the meeting, and then they write about you the wrong way or negatively, or your article gets bumped, or because, you know, there's some other important news story. But when you get it, it probably has the best impact for your brand than any of the other channels, in my opinion, and from what I've measured and seen. So no one was really interested in writing about us before, because I've been in the US for 11 years. I reached out to quite a few of our contacts there, and they were like, nah. Neuro was the first to market with this. That was the press hook. They got, you know, first mouse kind of, well, they won this race. So we didn't really have a strong news hook, and the AFR wrote about us, but I couldn't really convince anyone else to. But really, really good, like our first big hit and our first big win for our email address sign-up. So this is reflective of our the amount of email sign-ups that we got the day that the article hit. And after this point, we had quite a few other incoming press. That's the other thing. Once you get one hit, a lot of people start coming out of the woodwork. And since we've launched the Kickstarter campaign, we probably get a press request nearly every day. So it's just that tough first cherry, I guess. Basic giveaways. So we were going to do giveaway 5 or 10 headsets kind of all in one go. And instead we decided to do one giveaway, learn from that, and then make the next giveaway really, really punchy. So you can see the conversion rates here for our emails were obviously from website visitors that converted to emails was obviously extremely high and peaked the day that this launched, as that was one of the prerequisites to win. And then for the next giveaway, we made the copy much more punchy. We changed our welcome mat. We learnt a lot from the first one and kind of implemented it with the second one, and as a result got a much better improvement on the second giveaway. Bit of a grassroots campaign as well. I mean, I don't know if I'd call it a traditional hack, but you know, it worked. It worked really, 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 really well for us. These guys were 2 doctors. One went to UQ, one went to QUT. They went along to their market days, and they leveraged every single connection that they had there. They just walked around, they're a couple of cool guys. They just walked around with the headphones, getting people to try them, doing some competitions, getting people to sign up. We got a bit of a spike that day as well. My favourite quote from the founder is, "We haven't turned down a meeting in 2 years." So he does, you know, it is a lot of the those personal connections that he's made. He kind of leveraged them really hard leading up to the launch, including just giving Harvey Weinstein's PA a call and asking if he could send him a headset, because he used to have something to do with him, and so he sent it to a few influencers as well. They headed off to Sydney, they headed off to Melbourne, they're Brisbane guys, and they would announce it over socials, and they would take coffee meetings, and they were like, "Hey, we're sitting on the Opera House stairs for 3 hours, come and try it." And they would have hordes of people coming, and they kind of got this mini groundswell this way, and it was really cool, and people loved them, and they told lots of their friends, and come launch day, it was all these people that they had met in lives that they had touched. Some of the people would cry when they listened to the headphones, listened to the music for the first time. And that really helped create this groundswell and community for us to tap into. So this was the day that they went to the UQ and QUT. Yeah. Then they won an ad, which isn't really helpful for anyone here. It's pretty hard to replicate, but they won an ad in Brisbane News. It got a small uptick. So This was in the lead up to the launch. Oh, and we tapped into a lot of influencers. So they just would look out for people who'd said that had hearing problems or damaged their hearing in sports, or they tapped into their medical community to see which pro athletes had ever talked about this, and then they ended up getting because I've been outside Australia for 11 years, I was a little bit rusty, but Quade Cooper, people guys from the Wallabies, Stephanie Rice, Kite String Tangle, there was just a kind of plethora of different influencers that they used. They just really authentically just rang up and said, hey, I was wondering if you'd try this for a couple of doctors. We have this cool device. We heard that you X, Y, and Z. Mitch Chapman apparently, Mitch heard vocals in his right ear for the first time in 34 years and actually teared up a bit. So just these personal connections were really powerful for these guys. So what worked in the lead up to launch? The PR, Facebook ads, the email, now that we had all the email addresses, and the grassroots campaign. So we wanted to make sure that we iterated on just the top things that worked. And so launch day was crazy. The page went live. Pitch went out to all the journalists. The Facebook launch ads went live. E-newsletter went out. Social posts went live. There was a lot going on. And then they hosted a big launch party as well. So we got a really good Channel 10 piece, and then I just love this quote. I love the multi-platform. There's someone who watched it and came onto Facebook and commented and fell in love with the brand. Again, showing you how powerful that coverage is. And it really worked too. You can actually, with Kickstarter, it actually shows you how many pledges came through from which publications. And so, straight away, the Boss Hunting article was raised us to 2.7, nearly 3% of our total pledges, $7,500. So even though it took a while to reach out to the Boss Hunting guy, and there were 20 people that we reached out to that said no, it's $7,500. It's pretty good. On Facebook, I don't know if you guys are familiar with them, custom audiences and being able to upload your email lists and retarget people on Facebook through your email list. But again, that was kind of second benefit of focusing all our efforts on these email addresses, is that we could then upload them to Facebook and retarget these people with ads. We created a lot of lookalike audiences on Facebook for people that were on our email list, as well as retargeted traffic that had been to our our website over the last 60 days. We created every kind of Facebook ad, iterated, tested, just trying to make it as punchy as possible, because we very quickly learned that we were getting a massive return on our investment from the Facebook ads, and it was definitely outweighing the spend. And of course, we used the images and copy that we had learned that had worked in the launch. The 24 hours before the Kickstarter campaign launched, we sent out an email with an embedded calendar alert so that people could click on it, save it, and then when the campaign went live, they would get a big reminder. And we did a lot of A/B testing of subject lines, and just to make sure that packed the punch. This was what we'd been working up to the whole time, so we wanted it to be effective. The grassroots, so every single person that they had touched base with in this whole time, and the whole, we didn't turn down a meeting in 2 years. They tapped into every single member of that network. And Josephmark, we also have a lot of communities. Obviously, we've got, 10 different companies in our portfolio. So we amplified it for them. All the influencers amplified it. All their team, their mothers, everyone and their daughter amplified it for them. And that ended up being obviously well worth the effort as well. So they all came along to the launch, the big launch event. Kickstarter now has a live stream to connect you with backers. So we live streamed this so everyone could feel like they were part of the party. And James just got up and really rallied everyone to kind of put in the last $10,000 for them to hit their $100,000 goal within that first day. So there's the goal. So what we're kind of what we're learning and iterating on is that these personal connections have been really powerful, and these kind of creating this groundswell and this community. Being able to create a massive community on and offline to tap into for launch was, I believe, the secret to success. And they then jumped on a plane and went to South by Southwest. I think they got a bit excited by the amount of donations they received, and have been all over South by Southwest, just conning their way into various events and getting people to try them, and just little hustlers and doing really, really well. And, you know, they're in New York. They just set themselves up at coffee shops at different points of the week, and people come in and try them. And so that's kind of what they're doing at the moment, and we've got 25 days left to go. So how did we do? It wasn't 7 million overnight, and it wasn't, you know, I've read people saying, how do you get 100,000 emails in the first month? But, you know, we got 3,000 email addresses in a couple of weeks from zero, and good Facebook fans from zero in a couple of weeks, and Instagram followers, 257,000 backers in funding, from 900 backers in the first kind of 10 days. We've got 23 days to go. So just to iterate, I think like the biggest lesson was like creating this sense of urgency, this fear of missing out, this brand advocacy, because in such a short period of time as this beginning and end date, and I'm now trying to work out how to do that for a few of our other companies. And that's all I have for you today.